Oh, my friends, welcome to Spoilerin Time. Come on in. This is the show, if you know Cordkillers, that benefits from what we talk about over there. Because on Cordkillers, we talk about how to watch things, where they are they getting renewed, are they not, what's coming. And this is the show we have after we've watched some things. This week, we're going to talk about Miami Vice. We're back on the rewatch, season 4, episode 18. Justified City Primeval, Season 1, Episode 5, and Good Omens, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Bryce Castillo.
Huh? That's right. I'm still here. I've overthrown Brian, and now this is my franchise.
Yeah, until his plane finally lands. This is your franchise, Bryce, and don't let anyone tell you different.
That's right. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me. What are we going to talk about first, Tom?
Let's start off with Good Omens. Good Omens, Season 2, Episode 3. This feels like the table setting episode. We get the lady pretending to be a cop show up, starts to snoop around. She's not very good at her job, though, because she's not very experienced. So they easily avoid her. We get Aziraphale and Gabriel, aka Jim, hanging out together, which we didn't get before. So we get a little more exploration of the amnesiac character from Aziraphale's perspective, and then we get the trip north, the trip in the car to the place with the records, which I thought we were going to get a whole lot more Buddy Holly than we got. I was almost disappointed.
Just almost. Yeah, it's definitely, I agree with you that this was table setting. You know, including for whatever reason, the B story especially felt like a table setting to me. Like
there's B story and a flashback, right? So the flashback is the B story, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I guess it's a flashback of them
also
selling
the B story with the lady from heaven coming down, and that just sort of fizzled. I thought there was going to be more with that going on, and that just sort of fizzled out.
Did she go away? She's the one checking to see if the coffee shop and the record shop.
She comes in and sits down, and they easily avoid her having any suspicions.
I bet that I don't think that's done, but I think that wraps up.
The reason I bring it up is I think that's officially the B story, but it didn't feel like the B story because the flashback is more substantive.
Yeah, and I've liked them doing the flashbacks this season. I like them continuing to do it. It just something about it felt a little strange. Maybe because it was so pivotal to the exposition of the resurrectionists, and for somehow Azrael and Crowley are connected to whatever's happening here.
And it seemed pretty clear where we were going with it. That's the other thing. A lot of the flashbacks have been, I've always wondered about that. And now you're explaining something and revealing a little more of the backstory. Whereas this was, here, we'll show you the back of the sign with the guy. And you're like, oh, okay, so he dies. Like, you already know where it's going from the beginning. And yet we still didn't get the answer about why the Buddy Holly records, right? Except in so much as Gabriel was the guy there once.
Right. Like, all we really know is something's coming.
Yeah.
Which this is a short season, guys. I don't know. For me, I don't have another episode of like what is going to bring about the end of the world, given how explicit that was in the first season.
Yeah. And as Scooper Nova Girl pointed out to us last week, this is a link between the book story that we had in season 1 and the notes story that they had for a second book, which is apparently coming next season. So this is all linkage material. So when they say something's coming, I'm wondering, like, well, do we even see it arrive?
Oh, that would be very unfortunate if that happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be all right with it if it's the resolution to this season is Gabriel lost his amnesia because he knew this is coming. This is what it is. And that's the end. And the next season is dealing with whatever it is.
If that goes, that does seem very, very plausible. I just would not like that at all. I think that the pace that we're going and the way that the story is unfolding is going really, really well if it wraps up in about 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's enough. That's enough to tell me Gabriel lost his memory because of this. And oh, that's a bigger problem than we thought. Tune in next time,
yeah.
season 3. Yeah.
Mm,
I'm okay with that.
I don't love it. I don't love it. I know that this is like a bridge season, but it makes me go, if you were just gonna bridge, well,
That's a
just
bridge too far for you.
it's a bridge too far for me, and I got a bridge to sell you.
So
Uh,
yeah, so the
yeah.
Gabriel mystery is not enough to carry this season. You want more. Sounds like.
I just it's good. I think it's there. Uh, but I don't have much more. I don't have much. I'm just my patience
I'll
is getting
admit,
there.
and I don't have a problem with this. It's a little cozy if that's all it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, what other things happen in this episode? I
Yeah, so we've got the backstory on Aziraphale. We've got Gabriel having a statue and somehow being involved with the Resurrectionist pub, and that's the pub that was where the butcher guy was, and we don't
yeah.
know what his connection to all of this is.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we got a little bit of Aziraphale being like, "Oh, right, I got to make those two fall in love," but we didn't get much progress on that.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's easy. I can make them fall in love, not a problem.
yeah. I
And then there was more of like, she has a horrible home life, but that's gonna keep her from flirting.
the rec
The
the
couple that
coffee.
he's trying to get to come together, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I don't. I don't know how they're going to wrap that up. It doesn't seem like they are setting any of the uh, any of the landing points to be, and these two end up actually getting together. Like I don't even see that. Maybe
Well, we're at the halfway point, right? No, is that right? 6
yeah,
episodes?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, alright.
Well, then I would love to be fooled. I'm ready to be fooled. This is not the it's foolerin time. Let fool me. I'm down to be fooled.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, but I will agree with you, very much a table setting episode. Not Not one
yes.
where I was like the one where we got the flashback on them, with Job and everything. I was like, "Oh, that was nice. That was a nice rich hearty stew."
Yeah.
This was salt and pepper and ketchup.
And yeah, that's right. Catch up
A
and
lot of condiments in my metaphor for this.
they didn't have a lot of proteins back then.
Yeah.
It was a lot of Coke.
Uh, Anything else on Good Omens?
No, this is such a good show.
That is Good Omens season 2, episode 3. Let's talk Justified City Primeval, season 1, episode 5. This also was a lot of people just moving around without much happening. Uh, it's the lawyer settling the problem, but then having an uncomfortable date with Raylan and her ex, and she walks out of the restaurant and says, "You two work it out," leaving Raylan to pay the bill, which he said he would anyway. Then she goes to Sweetie and says, "Well, what? Give me one name out of that book because I want to be a judge. I'm going to compromise my principles."
Mhm.
And then also them trying to gather some dirt on Manzel, but they really don't make much progress. Manzel meeting with Sweetie about who they should put the screws to. Feels like we're setting up for Manzel and Sweetie and the lawyer to do some things maybe next episode.
Yeah. I think especially on thinking about this episode, on thinking about Justified Primeval, Tom, I think I like
Mm,
this episode a lot. I
you
think maybe I
did.
like this episode a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It really did
Even for not having a lot happen, it kind of flew by.
yeah. And it is also table setting. We were talking about table setting
Yep.
earlier, but they I think have set a really fascinating showdown. Everybody it seems like is lying to Raylan. Nobody is interested in justice at all except for Raylan. Like, you know what? You got me. You got me. Maybe you need a little bit of Old West to come clean up the Detroit. Like you know what? Okay. That when I realized that, like, you know what, the lawyer is probably honeypotting him. Sweetie is kind of playing him. The Mansell guy
Oh,
is
and then his liaison from the Detroit police uh, is like, "You don't want to talk to that guy.
he's
The
dead.
guy who originally arrested Manzel," and he's like, "Here, I'll show you why." And then they go to his house where he obviously knew that his wife would have nothing nice to say about that guy. Uh,
Oh,
but Raylan ends up being able to meet him on his own. And we learn, like, oh, she kind of described him as a drunkard. He doesn't even drink anymore. But what he does do is warn Raylan not to care too much, not to do exactly the thing you just said, Bryce, which is be the only one looking for justice.
yeah. And do they not? Granted, the first few episodes a little hazy for me still. Do they not know where Mansell is living and staying
No, because remember, he is hiding out in the apartment
with Sandy?
of of a guy who's disappeared. So they know
Uh,
where he is, but
mm,
they don't have the right to go in there.
I see.
Or maybe they would have the right at this point, but
They,
they're
yeah,
being careful because they don't want to arrest him too early and then have him get out on technicality and then blow their case. So
yeah,
I feel like what they're doing is trying to get to the point where they have enough to actually arrest him for sure.
yeah. There is a good tension building with all of these different forces of uh, uh, and you can't forget this because they let you know every 15 minutes that everyone in this show knows that frontier justice is a considered a positive outcome on this situation.
That's
Uh,
the Detroit way.
that's right. We do things a little differently in Detroit,
Yeah.
um, which was which was also interesting. Just everyone telling Ray, "Hey, I'll just blow him. I'll just blow him away if you can't get this to work. So no
Yeah.
big deal."
Let me just shoot him. Yeah.
Uh,
And the is it the Albanians that are
yeah,
like, yeah, we'll take care of him for you. That's not a
yeah,
problem. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, this is a good show, Tom. This might be a good
Oh,
show.
look at that. Look at that. Bryce getting turned around by old Raylan Givens.
Might be a good show. He's got the
By the
hat.
end of this, you're gonna be like you're gonna be in Raylan land just like the
Oh yeah.
rest of us.
I'll have my big 10-gallon hat. I'll have
And your
some dark
skinny Western
jeans,
jeans.
skinny
And,
jeans.
yeah.
Yep. Pepper, salt and pepper my hair just to look like my hero Raylan.
uh, but yeah, again, a lot of moving towards the target, but it is a good question of like, in reality, couldn't they just arrest Manziel? But I think they are worried that he would just get off on a technicality, so
Yeah,
they want to do it right, or just shoot him in the head. One of the two.
it is a fascinating, if soapy dynamic of the federal marshal is sleeping with the defendant's lawyer and not being very careful about it at all.
Yeah,
Um, that's
his personal life is messy. That's the thing with Raylan, but his professional life is always pretty
he's
straight.
all about justice.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sniffing you out, Raylan.
Mhm. That is Justified City Primeval, Season 1, Episode 5. Let's get back to the rewatch Miami Vice Season 418 Badge of Dishonor. And those who've been following our Miami Vice rewatch know that we've picked episodes. We're not watching every single episode. We picked episodes based on featured guest stars. So seeing some of the first appearances of people, that and love now. But so it's like in Chris Rock's case, it was his very first acting role. This week's guest star, which I went back and forth on including,
Mhm.
is Barbara Streisand. And the reason Barbara Streisand is even
Controversial
in
pick,
this
Tom.
episode is because she was dating I almost said
Don,
Don Pardo.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson
And
at the
dating
time.
me, Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand was dating Don Johnson, so they thought it'd be funny if she had a little walk-on part, which it's a stretch to call it a part.
Right.
I knew it was coming. I knew where it was coming, and I still missed it
Oh
because I
yeah.
was paying attention to what they're saying.
Mm.
Barbara Streisand walks past them as they're walking up to the boat that the other unit inspector owns. And they're talking about like how to get all the money for this boat. She walks by. Don Johnson kind of turns and gives her a look as she walks on by. And there's no reference to her. There's no
Yeah.
they don't miss a beat in their conversation. Like she's just a passerby.
They
She's just adding some movement to the scene.
yeah, they clearly like extended the intro of the scene just so that she could be seen as a pedestrian on
Yes.
this empty, like, pier parking lot. Like,
Yeah.
no
Who
people are
knows
walking.
where she's going, why she's there. If it wasn't Barbara Streisand, you wouldn't even notice there was a person in the scene, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so focused on them talking. Uh,
Mhm.
bears no impact on the story whatsoever.
Not at all. And I thought, we got another. This is another sort of internal affairs sort of a
Right.
conspiracy concern.
Is it dirty cops? Because you got the guys in the police uniforms that bust up
Mm,
Don and Rico's
the bust.
bust.
Yeah. Cops
And
can
then are
steal,
they really cops? Are they people dressed up as cops? Did they steal the guns?
yeah.
Did they provision the guns? It
Which
looks
is
like
also,
they stole the guns, but then why would cops steal guns, et cetera, et cetera.
which now that I think about it, was an early Miami Vice plotline of an episode we watched, right? Of
That's
like,
why I said I felt like this is an off the shelf Miami Vice episode where it's like, let's just take the bones of Miami Vice stories and tell a Miami Vice story, which we've had great examples of that not being the case, where they're like telling strange stories with, the porn industry
mm,
and UFOs and all kinds of stuff. Whereas this was by the numbers, like it's dirty cops, but are they really dirty cops? And who's dirty and who's not? Our heroes will get to the bottom of it. And one of the people they trusted turns out to be the problem, but she's got a problem for a good reason.
ah,
And then she dies. Like
man,
you've seen this Miami Vice story before.
Tom, when you say it like that, you're exactly right. It is like, it is very good. Like, I thought, like, okay, well, the undercover agent, she's kind of an interesting angle. She saw everything. What is her deal? And then, yeah, she's just in on it. She's been
It's
in the field
part.
too long.
Remember when Don Johnson dated the nurse,
Mhm.
and it turned out she was doing crimes, but for a good cause.
Right.
So they took a little of that and they mixed it in. The only thing we didn't get was our informant, our trusty informant.
Oh, right, right. The side character guy that they added.
Yeah,
Um. Uh. Man. What? Mm, I don't. I don't.
because
I like
without
this
Martin
episode.
Ferrero, it's not really a Miami Vice episode. Izzy wasn't there, but
Yeah.
otherwise, by the numbers.
I was very glad we had another Crockett and Tubbs together episode. It seemed
Oh,
like,
right, yeah, that's the other thing. We didn't split them up.
yeah. Which a lot of the last few episodes we've been watching have been a lot of that. So I was glad to see them back again.
On the other hand, Gina and Trudy just hung around the office. They didn't get anything to do in this one.
You know that, there's a lot of people on this show.
Even Switek had more to do in this than Gina and Trudy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. With especially with these long seasons of shows, they'd have to play it a little careful about which characters get scripts. Even I don't know. This is a 10-second tangent. When you watch 30 Rock, you can also see this with just some of the characters. Like, there's only like Josh is only in 10 episodes of a season because he's like technically a minor character. I bet
Yeah.
it's something like that with Trudy and the rest.
Whatever happened to Zito? Remember it used to be Switek and Zito in the early seasons, and then Zito just kind of
Oh, yeah, maybe Zito didn't there's only room for one, uh, comedic relief wacky guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't need the comedy team, the comedy stylings.
Mhm. Do, okay, so this is a cookie cutter episode. I don't know, for
It
some
doesn't
reason, I
make it
like it.
bad.
It doesn't
It
make it
just
bad, I
it
just
just means it's not surprising. You're not going to come
yeah.
away like, "What an interesting story." This one's all about execution.
There was, I guess they were just, like, interesting red herrings. There was a really interesting red herring with the special operations, guy, the leader of that team,
Yeah.
just, no, he just married a rich woman, and so
Yeah.
that's why.
Yeah, they clearly wanted you to believe that he was dirty, and it looked very, very much like he couldn't not be dirty, and then it turns out he wasn't.
Yeah. Uh, okay, well, we got to see Babs,
I mean, sort of.
kinda.
Also, I watched this on Tubi, and I don't know if it was just a bad transfer or my bandwidth was bad that day, but
Huh?
this was the grainiest Miami Vice of all the Miami Vices I've watched in this run.
Oh, really? I've been buying them on iTunes, so I don't think I'm having really streaming
Yeah.
things. I could notice a few bits where they were like punch cutting in instead of like doing
Yeah.
a real cut, but uh, yeah, I wonder because I'm sure the show like this has been around for so long. There are a million encoded libraries of it going around. Tubi could
Yeah.
totally have just a
bad transfer.
yeah.
Yeah. I was buying them previously until they showed up on Tubi. Once they made it from Peacock to Tubi, I started just watching them with dishwashing soap commercials, which just makes it feel like I'm really watching Miami Vice in the 80s.
The ads are so much.
It just adds to it. Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. It adds to it. It's dumb.
And that is Miami Vice season 4, episode 18. Next week, we will, of course, talk about Good Omens episode 4 of season 2, Justified City Primeval, season 1, episode 6, and Miami Vice 419, Blood and Roses, with special guest Stanley Tucci.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what old Stanley Tucci was doing back in the late 80s on Spoilerin Time next week. You get those episodes early. You get them broken up for easy watching and listening if you are a patron. You also get After Talk, where you can hear us talk about our strategy for Spoilerin Time, which is changing. And we do a lot of Spoilerin Talk on After Talk these days. If you're like, why aren't you talking about this show or that show? A lot of that stuff's happening on After Talk. So if you'd like to become a patron and support the show, give a little value back for the value you get, go to patreon.com/Cordkillers, and we will spoil you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.